Welcome to House of Origin. My name is Eddie, and today I have Miss Paula and Miss Paulette, these sisters. And just to confirm, you guys are from Kansas, but Miss Paula lives in Chicago and Miss Paulette still lives in Kansas, correct?
In Wyandotte
That
County.
is correct.
Okay. All righty. And we're back in Wyandotte County. My last episode was in Wyandotte County, so we're back. And today we're talking about Mr. Charles E. Smith, which is Paula and Paulette's uncle. He ended up suffering a stroke during a procedure. And since there was no POA on file, Deborah Locke set up a passcode blocking family access. And due to that, it led to several years of fraud and corruption. And the family wants justice and accountability. So with that being said, please introduce us to Mr. Charles E. Smith. I want to know who he was, how he was. I've already heard great things about him. I can see the smiles on your face just thinking about him. So please let the audience know, firstly, who we're talking about.
Okay, Charles Smith was my mother. Charles was the youngest son of my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, Pearlie Smith Mathis. Charles was a year younger than my mother. He went to Sumner High School in Wyandotte County. Later, after he went to Sumner, he enlisted in the Air Force, in which he was an airplane mechanic in the Vietnam War. He was a sergeant. Mm-hmm. And when he left the Vietnam War, he came home to Kansas and he was gainfully employed with General Motors for over 30 years, in which he was a foreman for General Motors. Mm-hmm. And he retired. And in his retirement, my uncle, he was amazing. He could cook. He was an avid gardener. He kept the best lawn. His house, he took good care of his home. He was a saver. He had a 60-year coin collection that he kept. Mm-hmm. He was just a very, very organized man, disciplined man. He had no children. He had been married twice in his life and divorced. And after his divorce, my maternal grandmother, which is his mom, he took care of his mom for 40 plus years. And my grandmother, it was devastating because through all this time, my mother had died from cancer in 2011. Charles had a stroke in 2013. Now imagine already my grandmother is up in age. She was in her 80s, late 80s when my mother died, somewhere mid 80s. And so to lose your firstborn and then a couple years later for your son to have a stroke, and then for her to be misplaced out of her home of 40 years. Yeah. After he had a stroke, we were locked out of the residence that they occupied for 40 years because this individual, Miss Deborah Locke, took and changed the keys. And then she gained access to all of their personal things. His safe in the house, his coin collection, his personal documents, all of that. She blocked us from. So when he had that stroke, it was nothing. After we were blocked, it was nothing we could do. Okay.
So when let me just say this: when the stroke occurred, it occurred on May 28th of 2013. The family wasn't aware of the stroke. We wasn't aware. It started when he went for a fine needle aspiration procedure where they look for cancer on the pancreatic head. And so he had a stroke there. They admitted him into KU in the emergency room. So on the 28th and the 29th, the family was unaware of all of this going on, okay? And so on May 30th, that's when Deborah Locke calls me and tells me that Charles had an emergency, and she made it appear that emergency occurred that day, unaware to us that she had already was allowed to sign the forms as a wife. When I arrived on the 30th, I was met with hostility with her family. And I had to give a passcode in order to get the information. I didn't have that information. And they were not giving me any information, and I couldn't get the information from Deborah. So I contacted Paula, and Paula called the NICU unit, and she talked to the nurse, and that's when the nurse told her you need a passcode, and Paula, and you know, it's violation of HIPAA. And Paula told her, well, you already violating HIPAA laws by disclosing his personal information and, you know, providing all this information to a family. So make a long story short, I go back with my daughter, and people are all in his room. This first time I actually laid eyes on him. People are all in his room. And she had her husband that she's married to now, her sisters, her two sisters, and a niece. The niece's name was on the board as if she was his biological niece. And so, of course, I raised hell because I said, that's not, he only has a set of twin nieces. He does not have a niece named Jeanette White. My name is Paulette Fennell. So if you put Jeanette and Paulette with the ETT, you know, that's just kind of, and I'm light-skinned, she's light-skinned, Deborah's a dark-skinned woman. Oh, they're related. No, we were not related. So it was told to them who I was. So I wrote a letter on May 30th to the NICU unit, and I faxed it. That is how I met the doctor, my grandmother. We met her on June 1st, Saturday, June 1st of 2013. And the doctor did not disclose anything other than the stroke. They did not disclose anything about a planned surgery that occurred on June 7th, where she had a peg tube inserted into his body, and they allowed her to sign off on that with her last name. Charles is not married. Charles is buried on Leavenworth federal grounds as a soldier, single. He has no spouse. And his mother signed off to have him buried there. But going back, the hospital moved him from KU to Lakeview.
Without the family knowledge.
Without the family's knowledge, somewhere around June 11th of 2013. So we had to search for him for that little small window. I had to get the info.
Wow.
And so I discovered he was at Lakeview. So he was in Lakeview for a while, and unknown to us, we were unaware that he had a peg tube inserted in him. We wasn't even aware that the peg tube was in his body when he was at Lakeview. And so on August 7th, let me back up. Yeah, on August 7th. And the only reason why I know this is because I'm the administrator of the estate. And I had to pull all the documents, write a lot of different letters to different doctors' office and so forth, where she had him and the different facilities, the banks, everything. And her boyfriend, or her husband, let me say that, prepared a POA, a living will, a medical record form, and sent it to his address, addressed to her personally, and put in there, he was acting as if he was an attorney. And so in that document, her sister is a notary in Olathe, Kansas, which is in Johnson County. I'm in Wyandotte County. On the POA, Charles was institutionalized at the time at Lakeview in Johnson County. But on the POA that she entered into his medical file, it showed that it was executed in Wyandotte County on August 7th of 2013. But he was institutionalized in Johnson County in a skilled nursing facility
at that time, so there was no way for him to execute or affix his signature, let alone even have a conversation about a power of attorney after a major brain injury on May 28th, which makes him ineligible for any power of attorney, period.
Because he came into the hospital
And he never
incoherent and
recovered.
incapacitated, and he never
And he was
recovered.
under Schedule C narcotics. But these people want this family, these Black women, they want us to think we don't know what we're talking about. Well, I worked for a financial planner for 10 years, and anyone knows that an advanced set of directives must be put in place by the principal, which Charles would have been the principal. However, Charles was not capable of putting such documents together because he was incapacitated. So, where did she get the ID? Where's her log? And let me mention that this particular notary is now dead, and we just found that out recently. However, it does not release what she did in the estate to cause this damage, and it was a conflict of interest. All the institutions across Kansas, and there are many that she moved him to after she gained this particular document. They moved Charles into over 10 plus institutions across Kansas that accepted that document, including the bank that he held his finances in for 40 plus years.
Including the unified government
that accepted,
which he sold his, which is the unified government of Wyandotte County, which is accepted
power
her
of attorney
and sold his trust.
CarMax.
And took the proceeds.
Let me ask this real quick. Here in Texas, notaries aren't allowed to notarize for family members.
That's across the board. I was a notary in Illinois, and you cannot notarize family documents. That's notary fraud. And I'm in surety, so I know it is. Okay, she committed fraud, and we reported her to the Secretary of State in Kansas. And then they had the nerve to send out a Caucasian deaf attorney to try to convince my sister, oh, she's a nice lady. Oh, this nice lady helped kill my innocent uncle. Her sister used that document to end my uncle's life. That's murder. I don't care how you dress it up, how you look at it. She used tools, a legal document that she obtained to take control over his life, and she ended his life with those very documents. And we're not going away because he was a wartime veteran, and he was denied all of his federal benefits. KU denied him veteran benefits while he was there. And I know this for a fact too, that they built his Medicare and they built his private insurance. And I know this, and they denied him those benefits because your medical will coordinate any veteran benefits. My uncle was a proud veteran. It's on your coverage. And it's also on your insurance coverage what your marital status is. So is it with the government.
Correct.
So I'm trying to understand how this state licensed social worker made the decision that she did. Her and the doctor is responsible too, because she met with the family and she knew the proper family, but she was too busy on another agenda. And see, they had the nerve to tell us that their legal department, Gail and Duncan, those are the only, they didn't put first names, Gail and Duncan, but they have nothing. All the things that they said, we gave a verbal consent. You don't get a verbal consent for something like that. That requires written consent.
Well, we discovered in the file recently that the social worker falsified the medical file and said that we gave verbal consent for her to act. No, we did not. We gave her a letter asking how she was allowed not to act without a power of attorney on file. And I wrote a letter breaking down the dynamics of the family and said that she will not be making any decisions and that the family will be making those decisions. And she hid those documents because when I became the administrator, and when Charles passed, let me back up. Charles passed. First of all, we didn't see Charles because he was moved from institution to institution. So she blocked us. And so when she moved him from Lakeview Village around August 7th, and her POA is signed and dated August 8th of 2013, just one day out. 72 days after his embolic stroke, she moved him to Sweet Life Rose Hill. And she was writing checks out of his personal account with UMB Bank, their 40-plus year customer who saved his money, paid cash for everything. Michael had lots of resources in the bank, which is gone.
Money market, CDs, a personal lockbox with undisclosed valuables in there. And my grandmother said an undisclosed amount of cash was in the lockbox. All gone. He had money market CDs. He kept no less than $100,000 in his checking account. They misappropriated. This woman misappropriated over $250,000 out of his checking account alone. So you can only imagine the vast assets that she took out of UMB Bank. Also, UMB Bank didn't disclose all of his assets to us, although we knew he had money market CDs because the heir knew. It was transfer on death on all of his accounts because his mother was listed as his benefactor. And she was on all the life policies when we showed up on her appointment time at the funeral home after he died. We didn't know. They didn't tell us. We showed up at her appointment time. She comes in with her sisters, Nidra Locke and Belva King. And they sit down as my sister. I took a red eye. And I arrived in Kansas City at 3 in the morning. And I tended so I could attend with my sister and my grandmother. We got in there. You could cut the air with a knife, but the funeral home was willing to commit fraud. And they helped her commit fraud because we're missing 10 death certificates. We got 5. And somehow they ordered 15. We only got 5 and we paid for the funeral. She showed up with the life policy that did not list her as the benefactor. She had all of Charles's military ID, his DD-12. So she thought she could bury him, but only a family member can bury you at Leavenworth on federal grounds. So I was trying to figure out how the funeral home was going to help her do that. Although Miss Mary McCree, the director at that time, they had already embalmed Charles and had us sign off after the fact because guess who held the money? We did. My grandmother wanted to have her son have a burial. We were locked out of the house. We had to sit at the table with fraudsters in order to even get his clothes. And do you know how stressful that was? And to find out that they didn't even, I told them I wanted to view his body. They didn't even show us that. They didn't do any of that. And we paid for the funeral. And I have written the mortuary science department. They have ignored us on this issue. Although it was fraud. They entertained fraud. They frauded us and they cheated us out of money. And they made us sit through that agony. We took over his funeral, his family. And we were met with hostility at the funeral. And who was that? The people that killed him, the ones that ended his life, hospice of Overland Park. Their chaplain was very, very rude She says, well, we're going to get, I said, no, you will not be getting up making a word. We already have. She gets up anyway. They were very disrespectful to my grandmother, me, and my sister at that funeral. At the funeral. It was the hardest walk that we had to do as a family. And I'm disgusted with the whole state of Kansas. Now, I want to move in because I want to bring up the fact that every year we work on this case. Every year we cannot let this go because this happened not only to my loved ones that are now deceased, but this happened to my sister and I. They blocked our rights. They blocked our family rights. All for this woman. The social worker was talking about our uncle's finances. How do you know what he had? What did you know about that? Mm-hmm. We never mentioned that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The family already knew because ultimately Paulette and I would have been over it anyway because we were the heirs, POAs, and her legal granddaughter. So we were in our right standing as next to kin. But I was told by Christina Tan that I was a fraudster.
I was a fraudster. And she slandered my name in my uncle's medical file, saying that I gave verbal. I did no such thing because, number one, I'm hearing impaired. I wear 2 hearing aids, and everything I do is in writing. I never do anything in verbal, ever. And so I wrote David Fry of the Behavioral Health of Kansas. And to me, they're not doing anything about what she did because this is fraud. It's a liability on the whole state because KU is a state hospital. And the fraud started at KU and it trickled down to every institution that Deborah moved Charles around to. And, with the peg tube insertion, that was damaged, and it was a tore port, and he wasn't getting the nutrients and so forth. And I believe that they were meeting with Deborah about that quite frequently because she was not taking care of it. So when hospice came on the scene, because the doctor admitted him to hospice, I believe, in December of
2014.
It's either December of 2014 or 15, one of them years. And she admitted him to hospice. At that point, we didn't know that Deborah had went and was looking for an attorney to file a malpractice civil lawsuit on the facility where you had the stroke.
And left him incapacitated.
So I discovered that in 2023 when Governor Kelly opened up the CORE Act. And, during the pandemic time, it was still kind of fresh on the surface after the pandemic. But anyway, I found out information and she was suing for $1 million.
Over $1 million.
Okay. Over
$75,000 for each physician and over $1 million in damages. And it was for the loss of consortiumship. But the way it was filed in the court, as if Charles filed it. Correct. So the petition is sitting in the district court, and we have that petition that is stating that Charles, here's the kicker, that Charles filed it. Okay? It was impossible for Charles to file that because he was bedridden with a feeding tube on Schedule C narcotics and paralyzed on the left side. So how was he able to do all of that with a major brain injury? So how was he able to do all of that? Now, mind you, there was an attorney that saw all of it and said, he outlined, she went and saw an attorney and he consulted with another attorney. And that particular attorney told her, well, I haven't heard from Charles or his family. And he outlined to that lawyer that he couldn't take the case because he saw the family issue in the files, because there is some documentation in the file that he has family. Okay? So, fast forward. Can't get one. Let's try another one. She found Andrew DeMera, super lawyer of Kansas, in Kansas City, Missouri.
In Missouri, because he worked on both sides.
Mr. DeMera
he filed
the case, unknown to the family. So we filed probate but the law says you have to file probate 3 months after the death of that individual. So we followed law. Probate was filed timely. We filed it October 7th. Unknown to us, there was that civil case that was dismissed on October 21st. That same year, just a couple weeks later, after we filed.
In the district court, hold on, let me make this clear. In the district court of Wyandotte County, I can't get an attorney. The district, Mark Dupree, I've written Mark Dupree's office twice.
Me too. Certified mail receipt.
For police.
Look here. You see that? Certified mail receipt. Mark Dupree. I've written the healing arts right here. I've written many, many people. And you see, I'm smart because I got certified mail receipts. So they can't say they haven't received them.
They didn't.
And I've got many of them that I have sent over the years. You see this? All of this. And I've written Mark Dupree. Let's get to that man. Mark Dupree. I've written his office. I've written the police chief, Mr. Oakton. I wrote the old mayor, Tyrone. I wrote his office twice. I wrote the police department twice. The officer, what's his last name? Chance? What's his name?
Yeah.
Henry.
Henry.
Henry Chance. He's the officer that came to the house when we gained a lawyer. We popped the locks a month after we buried Charles on August 14th, 2016. We popped the locks to his residence. We hired a locksmith and went over to his abandoned home because nobody was in it. It was in livable condition, not with rats and mice running all over and 2 tons of trash left in the property. We never seen that property look like that because our people are very neat and clean. Very neat and clean.
And let me back up. When we learned that Charles, we learned in June, 2 weeks before he died, that he was terminal. How it happened is my sister was in town, and she said, we haven't heard from my uncle. And I couldn't go over to the house by myself with my grandmother because she had a son who has criminal records, living in out, okay? And so we get over here.
I came down and said, we're going.
Senior helper. Senior helpers was in the home, unknown to us. Melissa Fitzpatrick worked for senior helpers of Overland Park. She didn't want to open the door to a home I've been coming into since I'm 10 years old. Okay. My grandmother was with us, and Melissa saw her and saw that I was walking her up to the property. And she calls Deborah, and Deborah tells her, don't let us in the house. Okay? So Melissa, I guess, had felt bad because she was looking at the fact that this is this man's mother.
And he's dying.
I'm not about to deny. And he's dying, and I'm not about to deny that. But see, we didn't know he was dying. So we get inside the home. Oh, my God, the house was a hot mess. Mice is running around, no food in the refrigerator.
Just a bottle, just some wine, some liquor.
Just a bottle of wine.
Another thing that I want to bring up, which you mentioned that we looked at, that he's in hospice. Hospice usually give you a final package for like a chemical cocktail or whatever. That was not in the house. It was not in the refrigerator. So somebody was getting them Schedule C narcotics. And Charles wasn't getting it because when we came there, Charles looked like he was in an extremely amount of pain. And his mouth was disgusting. It was full of guts.
And I'm going to tell you.
It was disgusting.
When my uncle saw
He
us,
cried.
I've never ever in my life saw my uncle cry. I never saw him cry. Never. I told him I wasn't letting this go because what they did to him. And so when we learned that he was dying, that Melissa said that, he's in hospice, and we like,
and then
what?
She tried to tell us not to be excited because we walk in and find out he's dying. We had no idea. We called senior. Let me tell you about Mark Dupree's wife. We wrote that division. She was over that senior aging and elder abuse division of Kansas. And we made many, many complaints to that division.
Right.
Wrote them. I wrote them. I still haven't gotten something from them saying it's closed. We had one of their individuals had the nerve to say to me and my sister, well, why would he leave it to his mother? And my sister wrote her back and told her, perhaps you need a class in proper
beneficiary.
Right. And how to handle.
I said, maybe you need a class in that. Because a person can leave whoever they want to leave it to. But see,
we made many, many complaints to that department, and it fell on deaf ears because all of it's connected. Every official in Wyandotte County, they're aware of this case. But see, what we're experiencing right now is what you call, we are victims of the color of law, 1980 through federal statute. They're denying us our rights. They're denying that, and they're concealing it, and they're hiding it, which we know, they know. I even wrote the Attorney General, okay? Mr. Lou Warren of Senior Helpers was in the House. He claims he offered veteran benefits. He claimed that Charles walked in his office for his services. Now, mind you, Melissa worked for him. When I was asking Melissa to ask him questions, he told Melissa, and I got it in writing, oh, don't give them no information. But when Charles died and he couldn't get no more money out of Charles's account, after the truck was sold for $7,500 to CarMax, Mr. Lou Warren went into Charles's account. Oh, he was in his account like it was his own personal account. He was taking $7,500 out, $6,000 out, you name it. He withdrew. He took over $60,000 that we found out of Charles's account.
And Deborah wrote over 60-something thousand to Sweet Life Rose Hill while Charles was incapacitated. And she wrote the checks as if he signed the check, not in capacity, according to how you should sign any POA. If you want,
he signed them as if Charles signed POA,
you have to sign in capacity. But she signed them for his name, just using his name.
Which is extreme fraud at that point. Not including everything else, just signing as somebody else.
Now, Kansas, you write a bad check in Kansas, they looking for you. She wrote many bad checks in Kansas, and she should be picked up. Period. I'm going to tell you what she did also.
So we get to the court.
She took his social security checks out of the mail. Charles was computer illiterate. He didn't do it. He didn't have an ATM card because my uncle kept about $2,000 of cash in his pocket at all times. I know this, and my family can attest to that. He kept a wad like this. He owed no man. He could go in his room and pull money, whatever you needed, he had it. He didn't go to the ATM. He didn't go to the bank like that. He deposited his banks. We got it, and he got his stuff all at once. He'll make a trip to the bank. Period.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to understand how a bank lets their 40-year customer that had social security checks that he would sign, and then all of a sudden the method is switched to direct deposit. But prior to it being switched to direct deposit, the UMB bank officer was affixing their signature guarantee stamp on blank social security checks. Now, I know
Unsigned.
I know
She mean not
that
blank,
whoever that officer was, let me get this out. Whatever that officer was, that stamp was assigned to a compliance officer in that bank. And usually it's an officer of the bank, someone like a VP or director, someone that has a position title. So who was affixing their blank signature guarantees on a blank Social Security check? That right there, big red flag.
I wouldn't call it a blank Social Security check. It would be an unsigned Social Security.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what is
So
the signature guarantee mean?
Is something that you use. Let's say you present, some stock options or something, and you want to cash them in, and they want to say, okay, we want to make sure you are who you say you are. So you go to your broker, and your broker is working and executing this bond or whatever you got, your legal instrument. But the party requires that you have it signature guaranteed, which means that no matter what, you fix that stamp, you're responsible for making good on this debt. In other words, if this is fraud, we're going to pay out on it. You got to pay out on it anyway because we fixed our signature guarantee to guarantee that this is a good instrument, a valid instrument. It's higher than a notary seal. Let's say that. And it's a compliance, and only officers are assigned that. And I know that because when I worked for a broker, there are certain documents we had to have signature guaranteed, and only the compliance officer in our branch had that. And usually compliance officers at your brokerage firms or your banks, they have them. So a lot of people don't know that because they're uneducated. And see, all of this fraud she committed is white collar fraud, and it's traceable. Her name's UMB Bank allowed her, without their customer present, to affix a power of attorney on that account. And we can prove that their customer was laid up in an institution in Johnson County.
And then what makes it so bad that a lot of the checks that she signed were unsigned checks to Social Security with the stamp. And then she commingled her Walmart check. She worked for Sam's Club on a $23,000 salary. She deposited her payroll check into Charles' personal individual, making it a third-party transaction. Okay? And they let her do that. And they shouldn't have did that.
There's many points. There's many points where this could have been stopped.
We wrote a letter to UMB Bank. Let me tell you one step better than that. When we were blocked at the hospital, my sister and I started saying, okay, they're going to try to get in his accounts, right? So Paulette wrote a formal letter to UMB Bank that, January, February of 2014?
January of 2014.
So just much shortly after that, wrote it, gave them details, and unknowing to us, they had already accepted a power of attorney on his account. But the family and the heir and the transfer on death on those accounts, her heirs wrote on it and told him that he was blah, blah, blah. We got a response back from Kayla at UMB Bank. What did she tell you, Paulette?
I can't remember without looking at my letter because
she basically told us that they ignored our letter basically and allowed the fraud to continue and take place in his account. They knew it, and then when my sister became the administrator and went up and we were serving them to get to where his lockbox was. Oh, they stalled her and then denied her in getting the lockbox because they had already let Deborah on her power of attorney that her husband drew up. It had language in there where she could drill a hole and open up his lockbox because the lockbox required 2 keys. She only found one. We have the other lockbox key.
The other key.
Now, before we continue,
that's a lot. I know it's a lot.
I'm just speechless. And I just want to ask,
Deborah
who
Locke,
is Deborah?
my uncle.
And how does she
Deborah Locke used to date my uncle
how did she
in the
become a
80s.
person in this?
In the 80s, and the family knew her. Okay. Deborah stopped coming around for many, many years. And then all of a sudden, when my mom got sick, we started noticing Deborah coming over to the property. And Deborah was over at the property, and she used to drink. And she used to drink with Charles. Okay. And we were consumed with the fact that our mother was dying. And we were overwhelmed with that. Me, my sister, when our mother died, our whole world changed. Okay, that was my mother's.
But Deborah wanted to be the wife. And see, Charles started to exhibit illnesses because he was getting real frail and thin, okay? And so Deborah made a comment to me and Paula.
If he dies, I get nothing.
We're nothing, okay? And that alarmed me. And then all of this occurred. Now, when we get to court, I'm just going to tell you, in this case, in Wyandotte County, I cannot get an attorney in the state because this is a small town and they all know each other and the lawyers, they work together, okay? And in the case where she was searching for an attorney to help her with this malpractice case, a lot of those attorneys, it would have been a conflict of interest for me because she have already sought out a lot of those attorneys as well. Now, I have even went to the disciplinarian office where you can look for an attorney. They don't have one for me, okay? Then I've had 2 attorneys disbarred in my case because they're both defrauded.
What happens to be Mark Logan, the attorney that hit the pregnant woman in the crosswalk at KU Medical?
Walkway.
They gave him 2 years for that, but they should have gave him time for defrauding my grandmother
gave him 2 years.
And my uncle.
But Mark didn't give him no time for that.
No, they disbarred him. However, he was the attorney that met with the judges and the fraudulent the civil case. And he never informed the family of this civil case. They quietly met, and Mark strung us along for 9 months. And we ended up firing him, and I lit fire under him when he told me, well, I'm going to file what I want to file. I said, absolutely not. I hired you. We hired you. You're going to fight for what we tell you you're going to go after. But see, he was already defrauding us. He defrauded us. We've been defrauded over $16,000 from these bad attorneys in Kansas. I don't have no more money, okay? This is money that they took from our pockets. This wasn't money that my grandmother had. This is money her granddaughters contributed to this because we're fighting for our family. And it didn't matter because it was our uncle and her son. My grandmother was devastated. She was ready to die after all of this happened. But she was okay because she knew that me and my sister was not going to let this go. We're not letting it go. They have stolen something from us and taken something from us so precious that we will never get back. We have been under a tremendous amount of stress and anxiety behind this, behind someone telling you you're a fraudster, and then for a university to use his body and desecrate and operate on it like he's an animal is disturbing to me. And it's disturbing to me because I have children. This could happen to me as a mother. This could happen to you if you are a father. It could happen to any one of us in America. At hospitals, social workers have been the downfall for Black families in this country for years. And there's no way this girl was 30-something years old at the time she made this decision. I have been looking her up because I want to know who she was to make this kind of grave error. She was pissed and she used her caring authority to usurp the proper family in that university. And I will say that. I will stand behind it because I know how that white woman talked to me on the phone. Period. And I'm not a racist, but I'm going to call it out like I see it because I know what happened to me. I know how that woman made me feel, and I know what she's done to help. She's ruined the legacy.
She concealed the letter that I wrote and the email that Paula wrote. We still have copies of
and
that.
I got the original links in my email. I still have them.
Excuse me. When I wrote the hospital, Ruby Gaston, the medical record lady, told me that the letter was nowhere in the file. Okay? And I have a copy of it, and it shows that the email address number was on the bottom of it that I faxed it to. And that set the tone for me to meet Dr. Hussman before they entered the peg tube that the family was unaware of until after probate was filed and medical records were pulled. And what's disturbing is that there was no POA on file at KU Medical Hospital at the time all of this happened, and they allow her to make decisions without a POA and without any written consent. But when they filed the civil case, attorneys were in KU pulling his medical file illegally. Okay, and they should have saw all that there was no POA on file, that there was family on file, because my name is slandered in my uncle's medical file. And that is a problem for me.
Too.
Her name is slandered and my name is slandered. I never met the social worker. I can't even tell you. Only way I know how she looked is that I Googled her name and looked her up on LinkedIn to see who the hell she was. But I have never met the woman. I've never met her.
They say she's blocked us from LinkedIn now, so we can't see who she is, but we know who she is now.
But I will. But like in the medical file, my uncle's medical file, it talks about how her sisters were in there while the doctor was discussing all of his medical prognosis and things. So, of course, the doctor violated HIPAA and his civil rights. And KU didn't give him an opportunity. And they violated our civil rights when they blocked the next of kin. I had the right, as my grandmother's DPPOA and my sister, and since she was living with me, I had a right to take over that. And they blocked me and told me I was a fraud. But what I wanted to say to that is that when we get into the court...
Hold on, before you go into the court, I just want to mention one thing. You know, in his medical file, Deborah was asking another social worker, Elisa Sull, if she could get a DPOA on Charles. And the social worker documented in KU Medical's file at the time he was in there, she said it's not possible for him to get one until he's better. So all of that language is in KU's medical file, and I can access it because we've read his medical file. It was one of the hardest things to do, but we read his medical file and we pointed out those inconsistencies. So it backs up. It's documented in his medical file that he did not have a POA at the time.
And this is what the state of Kansas failed in compliance.
They failed in every
the medical
area.
file.
Banking, legal, and medical. Social work too.
They have that she's significant other, fiance, wife here. What the one is it? You know, and then she goes into court to sue for monetary gain. But what's disturbing is that they closed that case at the time the probate case was filed, and they did not transfer it over to the executive to carry out the lawsuit. You know why? Because she was ineligible to file that suit. She was not eligible. And I still want Andrew DiMera. I feel like he should be reprimanded for
he should lose his law license.
Her. He should lose his law license for representing her on this
and
case.
defrauding the family and Charles. And let me tell you why. Because he never met his client, number one. He claimed that Charles walked in his office, according to Miss Lippert of the Disciplinary Commission out there in Topeka. According to the complaint, after we filed, this was her response, that Andrew says that he walked in with his common law wife. Well, we know that wasn't possible. That wasn't possible. Now, this came from, what was her name? Karen Lippert? What's her name? Miss Lippert? Yes, that came from the disciplinary. However, I want to point out that Andrew DiMera, he filed this case, and that
her name is Kathleen Lippert.
He claimed they trying to hide the fact that, let me just say this. The case was dismissed on October 21st as if the plaintiff, the petitioner, which is Charles, allegedly, as if he closed it. How could he close his own case from the grave 3 months after being in Leavenworth, buried in the ground? How did he come to Wyandotte County or meet with Andrew DiMera from the grave to close a civil case that he allegedly filed? That's the key. How did Charles do that from the grave?
Yeah, and that's what I took from my conversation with Jaleesa, is how rampant the corruption is. Everybody just does what they want and nothing happens.
And I'm still sitting, hold on. I'm still sitting with a probate case that the judge closed without telling me. And I can't account for the finances.
No formal
we got
notice.
No formal notice.
None.
And when I wrote the court to get a copy of the transcript, because we had a hearing disclosure. Okay, so in March of 2018, we had a disclosure hearing for her to disclose what she did with his property. Judge Catherine Lynch told her to bring in her accounting. So we resumed to court in April.
Hold on, back up. Judge Lynch, on that petition, we wanted to know where she got the power of attorney, where's his assets, what did she do in medical care for him? We were asking those questions. So the judge picked and chose what she wanted to ask her. There were like 18 things listed on that petition. However, the main question she asked her was where she got the power of attorney. Mind you, keep this in mind. This is in March of 2018. They quietly closed the civil case.
The civil case in
October 2021. Now, mind you, that was filed on her behalf, right?
Correction. Hold on, Paula. Correction. The civil case was closed October 21st.
That's what I said. And what I'm saying is, what I'm saying to that is that when they closed that case and then November and then move up to March, and the family has this petition asking her, where did she get the tools? What is all of this? The judge specifically asked her, where did she get the power of attorney? And I quote, she said, I got that to take care of him. She said that in open court. Right then and there, the judge should have shot that power of attorney down. She didn't, because unknown to the family at that time, she had been using it in the civil division, trying to sue for over $1 million. So, and the Judge Lynch was aware of it, because she met with Kathleen what's her name? Constance Alvery, the judge over the civil case. Her, Mark Logan, Andrew DeMera and Judge Catherine Lynch met, and they quietly closed that civil case. Okay? So the judge knew on March 18th that POA was gotten after the fact, because she admitted she got that to take care of him. Charles didn't give it to her. See? Power of attorney.
And at that point, the judge should have turned that over to the criminal division after that was her testimony. Well, when we get into a disclosure here where we had a court reporter on April 18th, Deborah, the judge put my sister out and put her husband out of the courtroom.
Although I know what's going on in the case because I'm a family member and I'm a co-DPOA and I'm also my sister's reasonable accommodation for her hearing loss. So she removed my sister's reasonable accommodation.
Mm-hmm.
Because they said I'm a witness. But it's happened more than a witness. I'm a victim. It happened to me. It just didn't happen to Paulette. Mm-hmm. And it just didn't happen to Charles and Pearline.
And my grandmother.
It happened to me, Paulette, Charles, and my grandmother. Charles happened to be the one that suffered fatally behind this. Okay? Yeah. He died.
He suffered so much.
They killed him for his assets. And we know he had a lot of money. Lots of it. Deborah's living down in Copers Cove, Texas, in a $300,000 house. Mind you, she was a Sam's Club employee on a $23,000 salary. At the funeral, she was in an $80,000 truck. Extended cab, all of that. While we're looking for Charles's assets that we know she stole, and everybody in Wyandotte County in the unified government, Henry Chance, he was the police officer that took our report the day of at the residence. After we popped the locks, we gave a detailed, like we're giving you, we gave him a detailed account of what we knew at that time. I said, why come we not I've been writing them, said we want to investigate it. I pulled the police report, find out he did not document anything we said. He falsified the report. But guess what? This same officer is on the Brady list. And he was kicked off the force for domestic violence. So,
wow.
Corruption. And I saw him, and I believe, I can't prove it, but I believe I saw pictures of him and Andrew DeMera. They're both airplane enthusiasts. You know, they like to fly the little plane. So, you know, Kansas is small, and everybody know everybody in that little bit town. You know, everybody know each other. And a lot of them that know we talking, they knew who my uncle was. My uncle was a long-time resident. He's always lived in Wyandotte County. My family has always lived in Wyandotte County.
But it's the fact that we have it's corruption in the court system here in this county, because there's no reason why I can't get his estate closed and her prosecuted for doing what she did. And his estate needs to be made whole, period. I need to be made whole because I was slandered at KU,
and I do too,
saying I wasn't family, and you're saying that I gave verbal. I didn't do no such thing. How do I fight for my right where it was violated by a social worker I never met? So it just makes no sense.
I kind of think that somebody in that county knew me. I believe my uncle was targeted. I really do. I cannot shake that feeling.
That's what I was going to ask, man. What do you think is the cause of so many people being so adamant at coming for your uncle's assets?
Just because they knew he had money, baby, and they want to act like we don't know. We grew up with our uncle. We know what he had. We know.
Well, I don't.
We were a close knit family, no matter what people thought. We close family.
It took her whole family to help her. That's the sad thing, you know. And whoever else you knew. What was disturbing to me is that when we was going for the first court date, my attorney came up on the elevator with her and him. That bothered me. I told my sister,
we
I
saw
said,
that.
why did he? I peeked that. But it's so much corruption in this county. Whatever you file, just like last year around this time, my daughter has a child support case here in this county. And the father and her had to go to child support court. And make a long story short, the girl gets public assistance. And because she gets public assistance, she announced, she went to the court, said that I stalked and abused her. I don't even know this girl, okay? There's no police report or anything of this nature saying that I did this. And it was Judge Lynch.
Catherine Lynch. We made complaints on Catherine Lynch on this case. So she knows who we are.
Judicial board. Yeah. I wrote the judicial board on Catherine Lynch on my uncle's case because of the impropriety I found in the court system in Wyandotte County. And, it's kind of hard to get a judge off the bench, okay? It's hard to get them, but I wrote that and nothing happened.
She told us don't go out and harm her. How rude of a judge to tell a hurting family not to go out and harm somebody when she knows she got this woman in here that did all this criminal stuff. And she tells us not to go out and harm her like we're some common criminals. That was degrading for a judge to do that to a family in open court.
But what I want to say is that she had me in a courtroom, and I could not file an answer to that motion. I had to appear in court, but I had provided evidence to the court of this person harassing my family over here was reversed. And so we appear in court. She didn't show up for court. And what happened was I wrote the court and I directed my comment directly to Judge Lynch and to phrase, I don't know, I've never met this girl, and my career requires 184 hours of my time to be summoned in your courtroom. And so I provided the evidence, and then all of a sudden we had the court date. The girl didn't show, and they had the judge that was over the child support case over the hearing that I was in. So Judge Lynch excused herself and put another judge after I wrote a letter because I told him I feel like I'm being harassed. And so, it
was harassment because you put an order on a person that you put an order on a person accusing them of stalking, and you have no police evidence of stalking. So how does a judge issue an order and you have no evidence that this person actually did that?
Does she have some kind of relationship with the government or with the court system?
She's a welfare recipient in and out of courts, and Wyandotte County likes to entertain that kind of stuff instead of making examples out of people that file false things in the court. They go along with it and run with it, and they harass people without any proper backup, such as stalking. To accuse somebody of stalking, that means they're contacting you day and night, and you have nothing to substantiate that. So why would you issue an order of protection and you against someone and you have nothing to substantiate that?
Yeah, because when you think about justice, you think justice will prevail. that the
They're
scales
not
are
balanced
balanced.
in the United States.
But in these cases,
No, but the scales
you're
are not
playing by
balanced here in
rules
Wyandotte
that
County.
No.
you're not going to win. The rules of that court system are set up so that
Yes,
you can't win.
I saw when I came in that courthouse for the first time back in March. I looked at that judge and my spirit was vexed because I couldn't. I told my sister when I said, "Why didn't they shoot that POA down?" I'm not understanding why didn't she shoot the POA down. I kept saying that, but I've never seen such. I'm in Illinois, and I grew up in DuPage County, okay, which is one of the richest counties in Illinois. However, I have never seen a shit show like I saw down there in Wyandotte County.
Down here.
Wyandotte County. I mean, what are they really doing? What are they doing for those people? There is corruption. I mean, we know corruption exists, but when it's right out in your face and people treat you, you see it. This woman.
And see, I was told to take my matter. One lawyer wrote me a letter and told me, I suggest that you set up a meeting with the district attorney. I can't do that.
We've been trying to meet with the district attorney.
We've been trying to meet with Mark
for
Dupree.
10 years.
And Mark Dupree will not answer any of the letters that I've written. And then when I called, I was told, he don't answer those letters. You can't write the DA. Only the police department can do that. Why? You're
a public servant.
Yeah, it's just dead end after dead end.
Dead end after dead end.
Every time election time come up,
who is his boss?
Every time election time come up for Mark, I bypass his name on the ballot. It's strange that there's no competitor DA or lawyer or whatever you want to call him to run against this useless DA over here in Wyandotte County. He's useless. He needs to go. So does Chris Kobach, the Attorney General.
And Governor
he
Kelly
needs to
too.
go.
And your state and
Because
federal said
we
David
wrote-
Haley too. We wrote David Haley. We wrote your senators, both Doc Martin and the
I
other
learned
one.
this
I
year
said
that David Haley.
Everybody.
And I learned, and I'm a quote on this, but I learned this year David Haley is in a common law type relationship. So that tells me why he was against what I was writing him about, because he's in the same similar situation. And the unified government, I'm not sure if they dismissed him, but there was an issue with him having, lying, saying he was married, and he's really not. So I'm just disturbed by it all. I just want to get justice. I want my name cleared in my uncle's file.
Me too.
Because I was slandered in the state of Kansas. And it's not fair that all the government entities that we took this complaint to ignored us. Every last one of them, because it's a big liability on the state because what their social worker did. And I just recently, we sent David Fry of the behavioral health area where she's licensed, where they govern her license. I wrote him another letter because I want him to explain to me where in the statute of the law where she didn't violate, because it's clear that the Attorney General sees that this is a case of embellishment, fraud,
and elder abuse. They wrote me back.
Elder abuse.
Listen, this is the strange thing. Chris Krobach's office wrote me back and confirmed, oh yes, this is criminal. Blah, blah, blah. Aren't you supposed to enforce the law? You're Mark Dupree's boss. The Attorney General is Mark Dupree's boss. Okay? Why come his boss didn't get on Mark Dupree's back about this case when he got the letter and the proof of fraud? They should have been executed because, once again, It's a big liability on the state. They murdered a Vietnam wartime veteran and stole
and they
all
denied him
of
of
his
all,
money out the bank, while
and
the
they
institutions across Kansas benefited out of his money. And his family was told to kick rocks. It ain't shit you can do to us. That's what they're telling us. Well, it's gonna be a cold day in hell, because I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. We need a civil rights attorney, and we cannot find one. We need a constitutional attorney that will help us fight this case. We've done a lot of work. We got a lot of proof and documents for you to back up what we're saying as the proper next of kin. We can prove what we're saying. We need help. We've been fighting this case for 13 years, and we're not going away until we are in our right standings like we should be. The government is not to tell us who we are. We know who we are. They have it all in their database from Social Security on down. They can put our names and know who we linked up to. They can check their vital statistic records, and they will not find anything with her name. Charles didn't commingle. Her name wasn't on any of his accounts, on any of his real estate, on any of his documents. His mother was. How we know? That's how we got the life policy cashed, because she was the benefactor. And then they try to come back and tell us, well, we can't tell you. We know what policies he had. There's missing policies out there we don't know about. And we believe the Department of Insurance is covering that too, because we've written them and they're giving us BS. I know the Department of Insurance can find all policies he had under his Social Security number. I know that for a fact. I used to work for a life company, and they have access to that with his Social Security number. So I don't want to hear that from them. Okay? I've been in insurance and in underwriting, and I know they broke compliance because I worked for a major carrier. And every year, because I was in underwriting, I had to take fraud classes to keep my job. I worked there 9 years. So 9 years of those classes I had to pass. And it pointed out every area. The fraud is in the paperwork, and we're presenting it. But they don't want to take it because it shows liability on the unified government, Wyandotte County. They have a lot to do with this.
Yeah, they don't want to look.
They already look bad, and I'm making them look bad all over
bad.
social media. And I'm saying it to the governor. And I know the governor liked one of my comments, and then I went back under it in response. So when you go investigate the death of Charles E. Smith?
Yeah, I think it'll be very important once I finish editing this episode and upload it and give it to you guys. You got to share it and tag everybody. Everybody. You know, people have to know what's going on in
Don't take your loved ones to
County.
KU Medical. Stand on their necks with their social workers, their doctors. See, we're pissed because they experimented on his body. My uncle did not like the University of Kansas. The only reason they had him on file is he was in there one time and they were mistreating him. And my sister knows about it. They had restrained him and did all of that. They had who his next of kin was on file at KU Medical. We would have never taken him to KU Medical. When we showed up on the scene, our intentions were to move him out of KU Medical and move him to a hospital in Missouri and later seek his veteran benefits, because we don't trust the hospitals in Kansas at all. We don't. And we have a reason why we don't trust KU Medical. We've been knowing about KU Medical. My brother, we are very familiar with medical. We knew she was blocking our rights. We knew we had that right, but we couldn't get an attorney to fight us for us at this hospital because the university with resources blocked a family without resources.
Yep.
Yeah. Kansas University blocked our family, and Professor Catherine Hussman and Dr. Stephen Lemon experimented on Charles's body without proper authorization or the next of kin's approval. They accepted an unauthorized party word over a family that they knew was the proper family, and they hid it,
without
and they're still
a POA
hiding it
on file.
And we have
without
the documents.
a POA on file.
Without a POA on file, and it's documented in his medical files, and we have a copy of it, and we outlined it and sent that to David Fry and Miss Hahn in his area when we first made the complaint. And let me tell you what they did. We made that complaint. They strung that complaint out for almost a whole year before they denied it. That was David Fry, the director of behavioral. Oh, Pro Box Office told me, we know this is criminal, but we don't process criminal. Well, then why isn't your county prosecuting it? Why come they are not when this family is coming to you? That's a problem.
Yeah, so it just seems like they're trying to ignore the issues.
And we're going to go away. I'm not going away because you stripped me of my rights. And you got the wrong one. Thank God I wasn't raised in Kansas. I'm from Kansas, but I was raised in Illinois.
Because this is stolen. You're still denying the proper
and you're
family.
hiding it and concealing it.
And you're hiding it.
Yeah, Ms. Paulette, you said something about the statute of limitations. Is that something that's that could apply to all of this?
Well, now, because we keep finding stuff that they're concealing it and that they've concealed from us, they're tolling the statutes of limitations. This is federal now. It's federal now because everything they're part of a RICO. This is a RICO case. I know it is. It's a tort for the state, and it's a RICO case. And if there are any attorneys out there, we speak and walk in truth. We need help. We need a black civil rights. I don't care if you're white, green, or yellow. I don't care what you are. We need someone that stands for truth, justice, and the right way. This could be your family.
It could be your grandmother.
It could be your mother. It could be your child. This was my mother.
Could be your father.
Even though my grandmother was elderly, she had her faculties. This was her child. No matter if he was old. This case was unique because Kansas, they don't want to enforce the law because Kansas has a law against harming seniors over the age of 70, right? You can get 40 years for that. Well, many people harm 2 seniors over the age of 70. And that was the uniqueness because my grandmother was over 70 and my uncle was over 70.
But then again, another dead end.
Because this was abuse, financial exploitation. They misplaced my grandmother from her house. That alone should get Deborah time, her and her family, for doing that. She killed my uncle after she got all of his money out of the bank and everything, and they thought they was gonna get the life policy, right? They were in there, look, at the table when the director, she thought she was gonna try to front my 90-something-year-old grandmother and tell my grandmother, well, I'm gonna need. She tells me and my sister with the fraudsters I'm gonna need your grandmother to speak. And I looked at her. And I said, no, you don't. Paulette, pull out our power of attorney. Deborah's older sister, Belva Locke, got up from the funeral table. Belva King. And said, oh, my bones hurt. Got up and left because she saw once the funeral director called the funeral home.
The
funeral director from the funeral home called New York Life. They confirmed. They said, we need the mother. Mother! Right then and there, sister got up and left. Because my thing is, my grandmother's ID was missing from the home. Okay? Was her older sister going to be my grandmother to sign off on that?
On that?
How are you
So
going to
that's the
act?
question.
Oh, she had her power of attorney thinking she was going to. She had her power of attorney and was going to act off of the death benefits. But what she doesn't understand is insurance company doesn't accept the power of attorney. A power of attorney ends at death. So that's no more active. Okay, that's number one. So the funeral parlor was accepting a power of attorney that really was not. It was invalid, number one, and it really couldn't have been accepted because he was dead. That ends right then and there. For people that don't realize that product, that document is no longer usable.
Valid.
Yeah.
Good.
She had us sign off on all of that stuff, and like I told you earlier, and they billed us for death certificates. We're missing 10 death certificates, and we've been waiting on the mortuary science. We want those death certificates, and they ain't told us where they went. Yeah.
Why are there so many death certificates?
We ordered 5, but when we look back on the paperwork, they changed it to 15. So somebody and they charged us for that in the bill. Okay. So Mary McCree, who was the funeral director at that time, had to have they would have come to the funeral home. So they had to have given those to Deborah because we don't have them. We're missing them. And Charles had some other policies that we found, but there's documents. His safe was stolen out of the house by her. So all of his personal papers and things, my uncle probably had wills and everything in there we couldn't access because she stole it out of the house because they went through his personal mail and all of his documents along with my grandmother's personal stuff.
And then like the living will was catered to
his medical situation.
To the peg tube. Okay. But it was illegal. And then it states that she has the right to end his life. Well, when I got a hold of all the paperwork for Crossroad Hospice, she stopped all his feeding. So the food supply stopped. So basically,
he starved
they were
to
just
death.
letting him die. Starved to death.
He starved to death.
Okay.
That's horrible.
Walked in the house. I have pictures.
We have pictures of him
before
in his last day.
when I gained access to the house, I saw in the basement, it was so many little mice. I had to get organs in the house to get control of it.
For over a year.
But there was no working water running through the pipes because they were all clogged. There was no food in the pantry. There was the electrical panel was faulty. BPU, which is under the unified government, made me pay her $1,800 bill. But when I wrote them, because we had a storm and it knocked off the power, and half the power is on in the house and the other half wasn't. So I had to they made me hire a master electrician to fix the electrical. But in the meantime, she used her fraudulent POA while my uncle was dying in the house under faulty electric.
And they kept the power on.
And they kept the power on. But I end up getting the money back after I made a complaint. But it was the
and threatened to sue the unified government.
Right. And that's why the owner, the head man, wrote me and said we told him to hurry up and refund her the money because they collected from the wrong person. And so I got it back, but it was
very
a nightmare.
Stressful at that time. It was very stressful.
And it was very stressful. And even the real estate property that she didn't pay, just think of this. She's in the district court suing for over $1 million, but she didn't pay the property taxes on the real estate.
Family had to pay over $5,000 to catch the property taxes.
I had to pay $5,000 to pull it out, to bring it back up current. And then, come in and I had to gut her out the kitchen.
We had to hire 3 roll-off dumpsters. 3 roll-off dumpsters.
I had 3 roll-off dumpsters to throw away all the trash that they left in the house and including in the garage. She took some furniture out of the house and threw it in the garage.
You got empty condom wrappers in the garage, paper strewn all everywhere,
all over.
Mice.
It was a mess.
When we got access to the house, the first thing we went through is start grabbing any papers that were laying around, and we put them in a big bag, and we trash bags, all paperwork we saw in the house. We gathered.
And then I had these little bags too. And what made it so bad that when I bought one of those bags back to my home, it had a mice in it.
Yes.
And I carried it back to my house, and I was freaking out. And so I ended up getting it out, but that's just to show you. He was in the house.
Dying.
In squalor condition while these mice was running everywhere.
While this woman, her husband, and her family have stolen his life savings, left him in his house to die in squalor. And while we made complaints to Mark Dupree's wife's area, they told us that it's nothing wrong with the conditions of his house.
Nothing wrong.
But if we show you the pictures, you will be like, what do you mean nothing's wrong? It was disgusting in that house. We have,
and when we came here, when we first
pictures.
saw, wait, hold on. Before we first found out Charles was in hospice, his mouth was full of corrosion and junk. I mean, his mouth was so dirty. There was no working water in the house. How the hell are you cleaning him up? Brushing his teeth. She wasn't doing any of that. And so when we came back the next day, she had his mouth cleaned up. Okay? But we know, and then her husband, they're talking about Melissa Fitzpatrick.
He's showing up at the property, and things are missing out of this property. You know, her husband's pulling up with a van. Why are you pulling up at this house? What are y'all stealing out of this house? Because, see, now I'm thinking y'all all thieves. Now, she's the one that gave me Deborah's new number. Okay, Deborah got mad because Melissa Fitzpatrick gave me the number. And then I said, well, what's your boss's name? And I told you her boss, Lou Warren. After Charles died and we filed probate, her boss called. He had my number because of Melissa when we met at the home. Her boss called me while I was at work one day telling me that we owe him thousands of dollars. I never met this man. He told me he was going to sue me personally and have his brother, who is a Johnson County judge,
in Johnson County,
come after me. I told him, bring it on. Bring your brother. Come on. I'm ready for you.
Mm-hmm.
He threatened me. He was trying to come after the estate, although he was defrauding the estate. But you don't want to tell the real family, but you want to come and exploit the real family. Like his dealings was with Deborah Locke. They weren't with us because, see, we wouldn't have never had them. First of all, Charles shouldn't have been in nobody's institution because he owned his property and he should have been able to receive the care in his home. That would have eliminated the cost for that. And he also should have gotten wartime veteran services because he got special benefits as a wartime veteran, which were denied to him at the state level. Because of all the fraud at the state, they kept him at the state level, and that way he couldn't get his federal benefits. There's no way they can't tell me at the hospital that they did not know he was a veteran because it's on his insurance, period.
Also, because he was a veteran, he had access to different kinds of hospitals.
She was an unauthorized party. She tried to write the veterans. She tried to write them, okay, to try to get VA services from him. She wrote them, and they responded. I got the letter. They responded back to her and told her, we need to see your marriage certificate, his last divorce, this. They wanted her to submit documents, checking, banking, all of that. She didn't have that, so she didn't push the issue. She didn't follow through with the military, because if she would have, the military would have got her. But she didn't do that. I got the letter in my possession.
You know, and all I think about, while we're discussing this is how sad it makes me how much he suffered.
Me too. And I think that's the hardest thing. I have had to be, and my sister have to be very strong. We have been through a lot. We have been met with a lot of hostility, a lot of hatred, a lot of things like that. But we had to walk this walk and walk through this fire. And I'm not going to give up, because I want the social worker held accountable. She should be charged criminally, and she should lose her license. And so should Dr. Hussman, Dr. Stephen Lemon, and of the attorneys that participated in the lawsuit should be sanctioned. And the one that filed this suit as if Charles came in his office, he needs to lose his law license, and he needs to make restitution to my sister and myself, and Charles. They need to make restitution to this estate and to his family. But
and so since then, have you guys had any kind of interactions with Deborah?
We've never Let me tell you something. She never, after she called us on that 30th, the only time we saw her after that is when we had to deal with burying him. She doesn't call us. She changed her number. Mm-hmm. She's in Corpus Cove, Texas. We're following her. Her and Bernard Muhammad, her husband, who gave her the tools to get in my uncle's accounts. He helped her do this.
And I have the letter. I have the proof of what he's given her.
I don't understand how something like this can even happen, but you're right. It can happen anywhere. It can happen to me. It can happen to, other people that we know. Yeah. And it's like all the work and effort that you guys have put into getting justice for this, having gone pretty much nowhere, makes you think like, what else can I do if I've done all of this and I'm still getting pushback from every avenue? Most people would not do as much as you guys are doing, because they would
just give up,
find those dead ends and be like, well, I guess there's nothing I can do. And it seems like the court system is built on that. As long as we don't have to do anything, then we'll just let it go away. But I'm glad that you guys are fighting for it and continue to fight for it, because people should be held accountable.
Exactly.
Wyandotte County should be held accountable.
The unified government needs an audit. The federal government needs to come into the unified government and audit them. They need to be audited. I'm not understanding how a county, they combine the county with the city, okay? But the people are not getting the services, because there seems to be a lot of hiding of the little stuff that they do in this county. What's up if they practice the color law in Wyandotte County and Johnson County? And it appears from studying my uncle's case, there's a lot of lawyers out of Johnson County coming over into Wyandotte County committing fraud. All the lawyers involved in this case are out of Johnson County. What's up with that? Who actually runs the unified government? Because the mayor doesn't have any power. So who runs it? Who really is over the mayor? Those are questions people in Wyandotte County and in Kansas across the board, when dealing with Wyandotte County, should be asking. I don't have no faith in this new mayor they got. I've written every person in a position. I found in Wyandotte County, your professionals, or so-called professionals, they don't know how to respond with professional letters. They must be illiterate in that county, because not one time on a professional certified receipt letter have I gotten a response from any of their professional individuals that are supposed to be college educated, licensed professionals. They're a joke in that county, in that state, as far as I'm concerned. Horrible.
Yeah, it's speechless. You know, I'm
What's
speechless
the
at
odds that a family is
how
defrauded by
this goes.
2 licensed attorneys? Not one, but 2 of them.
Yeah,
Right.
because it's all allowed. You know, it's all allowed, and there are no repercussions.
The last
for
attorney
any
we
of it.
had, Abel Guadamino, when we came out of that disclosure hearing, he told me and my sister that this is he said, this is criminal. You know it's criminal. The DA that knows it's criminal. Why didn't Mark Dupree do his job? If the attorney is saying it's criminal, the judge knew it was criminal. Why wasn't the DA doing his job? Mark Dupree songs and dance like a Sambo around that town. And he wants to use the word of God and his preacher status. Well, I'm not falling for that because I get the word of God and I'm a child of God. And you shall know them by their fruits. And Mark Dupree's fruits are all rotten because he has not done what his oath he is sworn under oath to do. And when a family or when families are coming to you about real crimes, they're pushed under, ignored. That's because there are a lot of professional attorneys involved in this case. We got social workers, doctors, and lawyers that have committed fraud in my uncle's case. And the family is pointing it out. And so they want to say that these 2 women that have been trained to recognize fraud, oh, that didn't happen. Oh, we'll just ignore them and they'll go away. Well, no, I'm not going to go away. I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm going to spread it on social media. I'm going to spread it everywhere. I'm going to let everybody know because this is my assignment in my family. God has ordained me for this. And my sister, this is our rights. They took our rights and they took our generational wealth. They stole from my grandmother. They reduced her to poverty and they kicked her out of her home. They reduced her to poverty and they kicked her out of her home when she was really wealthy.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder in the unified government, especially with UMB Bank and all these people, who knew about the social worker was talking about Charles's accounts. Who knew about his accounts at UMB Bank? Who? That's perplexing me and my sister.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just so many people have access to his affairs that shouldn't.
Because he had money for a long time. They knew who he was. We're good. I think we've kind of summed up what we pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more to this case in the things she did, but we're not going to give up.
Please, yeah, you can keep talking.
He's going to cut this and edit it, Paulette.
Okay.
No. There's no editing.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no editing at all. When I record, I don't try to, the only thing that I do is just edit the audio and line up the audio to the video, and that's it. I don't try to make anything look any other way. I don't try to make things look better. I don't try to make things look worse. I let the story speak for itself.
Thank you for allowing us to share this story with you. This has been very
on your platform.
Yes, we really appreciate it to your listeners. This has been a very, very challenging experience. And every day we live with this. We live with this.
Yeah. And, as you continue to fight this fight, let me know. I would love to have you guys back.
Absolutely. And I've got your number. You've got my number. I think did I text you? Yeah. I think I will make sure. Yes. I really appreciate you. This right here is also healing for us to get our story out for others because it has caused so much stress to know. And people that have never been through this, they don't understand. To have your rights stripped from you and to be told you're not, and to watch your loved one be toted around and state that nothing, your hands is tied and nothing you can do, and you're going to all the people that you that say they're supposed to do this and help you, and you get nothing from them.
Nothing.
At all.
And you pay tax, and I'm paying a lot of taxes in this county, in Wyandotte County. I'm a property owner.
And my uncle paid taxes and never missed a beat.
And he paid taxes.
And never was late.
And never missed a beat. I feel that my tax dollars is being wasted in this county, especially in the district court. When this case was filed, and I can't get resolution. How am I supposed to close his estate account and I can't get a resolution because the judge told me that I have to pay to have the case transcribed by the court reporter.
Who is down in Texas.
And then who moved to Texas. And then I have to pay for that. And then I have to do a motion for her to do it because it was not transcribed.
And why wasn't it transcribed? It was a scheduled court hearing. Why?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Why wasn't it transcribed to begin with?
And then
because on that transcription, hold on, let me answer his question. Because we believe they didn't transcribe it because on that transcription, she states that she didn't sign off on the peg tube, but her signature's there on all the forms.
She said that someone at KU Medical Hospital forged her signature on the informed consent form that shows clearly her signature here. On the 29th, on the form that she signed, shows her signature there. And you see, she got nervous when she was signing it, but she signed it as a Smith. She's not a Smith. Okay? And then this was given to the hospital, to the social worker, telling how you doing that, how you allowing
That's
that.
my email to her.
This is the email she got back from Krishna Tan saying to get your lawyer. My sister's a resident of Illinois. I was making my way to the hospital, and she told me, "No, they're gonna let Deborah out and ignore you." I'm like, I was so pissed. I was so upset. How do I go and tell my grandmother this is what's going on? So, her whole objective was to rob him of his assets,
and she succeeded. And she killed him. And with
the help of the social worker at KU Medical Hospital.
Yes.
And the doctors that put the tube in him and was destroyed his where he have enjoy life. What's that word I'm looking for? Where
quality of life.
Quality of life. Okay. They ruined all of that for him. Okay? He can no longer do anything.
We don't really know everything that they performed on him, but the bottom line is...
Because I don't have all the records. They didn't give me all the records. Didn't.
And the thing is, they allowed those forms authorized, if you read them, they allowed their students. Dr. Catherine Hussman is a professor. So they allowed, and Stephen Lemon, they allowed students to participate in Charles on his body, and we are angry about that. Like I said earlier, my uncle didn't like KU Medical Hospital. We would have took Charles out of KU Medical without a doubt. We would have did that,
and we would have also utilized the veteran services benefits that were available to him. That was all denied to him. A second opinion was denied to him. A second opinion on what they did to him, putting that tube in him, was denied to him. Because, when I was caring for my grandmother, one nurse suggested that, and I told her no. My grandmother lived outlived her son 3 years after his death. Okay, so she was 96 years old.
She was 94.
I'm sorry, she was 94 when she died in 2019. She's 100. She'll be 101 in March of this year had she been living. And so, you know, they just destroyed a legacy. My family's legacy.
My grandmother's only son. Who sacrificed and gave portions of his life to this country. In the Vietnam War. Another thing, my uncle was exposed to Agent Orange, okay? Hospital didn't know that, but his family did. So he qualified for other things under Vietnam. We are so livid about this, okay? We're livid because they ignored us. They basically told us, kick rocks with no socks. We don't care who y'all are. We're going to do what we want to do.
We want to do.
And they did it.
And they succeeded. Yeah. And so that's all we have to say about that. This is where we at with this. I'm just hoping that there's someone out there that hears it. It's not really about my emotions. It's really about my civil rights at this point and my family's civil rights. You have fraudulent documentation in his medical file saying that this woman is his wife, and that's not true. Those documents, all those documents need to be corrected. And it needs to be corrected to show who the true proper family is. And they need to be picked up and put in jail and be held accountable for what they've done to this veteran. Period.
Yes.
Ms. Paula,
I feel the same
words?
way. It is time for them to pick Miss Deborah Locke and Mr. Bernard Muhammad and the social worker and anyone involved with the death of this soldier. They need to be held accountable. They lied, concealed, and they hid what they did. And they can no longer do that because the family has the story.
And the doctor committed battery. The doctor committed battery against his body.
When he operated on him.
When he operated on him.
He didn't have
because he did not have informed
the hospital
consent.
did not have the legal authority to do anything they did on Charles Smith when he was in there. They broke all laws and they need to be held accountable. And KU Medical and the university needs to be held accountable because their doctor is a professor and the social worker was an assistant professor. They need to be held accountable, period.
So what I want to leave this off with is let's go through the names one more time of the people that need to be held accountable so that people can understand.
Deborah Locke Muhammad, Bernard Muhammad, Dr. Catherine Hussman, Dr. Stephen Lemon. Her niece was in the room pretending to be me. Her name is Jeanette White. She needs to be held accountable.
Belva
because
King.
She helped participate in fraud. Belva King. UMB Bank needs to be held accountable because they allowed fraud into his account. Crossroad Hospital needs to be held accountable because they accepted fraudulent documents from a fraudulent party who put together tools and ended his life at your facility and disregarded the next of kin. And
the social worker, Christina Buckley Tan, she kicked it all off. She's the head one. She should be right there, right up where with Deborah Locke, Bernard Muhammad. She should be third one down because she kicked this off and she allowed this and falsified the files. Now, Lou Warren. Lou Warren needs to be held accountable because he was in and out of Charles's account, embezzling over 60,000 plus out of his checking account. And performing services in his home. And Sweet Life Rose Hill, who had him in their facility accepting signed checks as if he wrote them, and withdrawing over 60 or accepting charging him over $60,000 out of his accounts. So here you got two of those that took over $120,000 alone, and then the rest was misappropriated. UMB Bank didn't release everything, but we got a lot of stuff out of his checking account where we could see where it was being overdrawn. Red flags left to right. Here you got an account that kept $100,000 balance, and you see that checks are, his account was being overdrawn excessively in the 3 years that she was in control over his life. All the years before that, his account was like a well-oiled machine. See, what they didn't know is when my uncle used to have problems with his insurance, anything like that, he would come talk to me or my sister about his retirement plans or his insurance, because we both worked in those industries. So he knew that. And when he would have issues, he would come to me and say, hey, this is my insurance, can you take a look at that? And he would bring his checkbook and he would show me and my sister what he had. So we are not oblivious to the type of money he had. But the city and county want to tell us we don't know nothing. But this was our maternal uncle, and we stayed in and out of that house because it was my mother's only brother, only sibling. But in hospice, he has a brother, he's got this, he got that, when he only had one sister, my mother.
On the files, on the hospice files, they said that he had one living brother, one deceased sister. Okay, my uncle do not have any brothers. It's just my mother, my deceased mother, and my uncle were the only two children to my grandmother. So that was a red flag. This is what Deborah provided to Crossroads on the family lineage, and then said not so positive family members. Well, I'm curious as who was the brother that was living. That could only be her husband, because I found his mail in the house that with his name on it. His mail was in the house, but he the one wrote the POA, the medical release form, and the living will, and mailed it to her and addressed it to her, Deborah Locke, and stated in there, you need to give it to Charles to execute. Charles couldn't execute anything.
She executed it.
She signed it. She executed it in Wyandotte County when Charles was institutionalized at Lakeview Village, and had her sister notarize it so that the document to be active. So,
but here's what's disturbing.
Wait a minute. Here's what's disturbing. Wait a minute. This is what's disturbing. Attorney Timothy Sears of Paul's Nelly down on the plaza here in Kansas City, prominent law firm. He sits on the board at the disciplinarian office, met with me, which I feel was a conflict of interest. He had no business meeting with me, and asked me, do we feel, some of the clients that he represents is on that list. Do we have a claim? I told him I wasn't at liberty to discuss that with you. That's client attorney privilege.
But with all the claims, with all of the complaints coming through, and he sits on the board, I bet you he knows about the complaint and he's protecting his clients because his clients have broken the law.
The law.
And I think one of his clients is KU Medical.
And, he said that if she's claiming spouse, then why didn't she just do a living will?
Well, if you know that and you saw the document as an officer of the court, why isn't there something that you are reporting? That's fraud. What my understanding is when you're an officer of the court and you know that it's illegal, isn't it your moral duty and your legal duty as an officer of the court to report that? That's
why they're
what
elected,
it's supposed
right?
to be. But in Kansas, it seems that it's none of that going on. Because you see all of these stats right here. The majority of these went to the disciplinary commission on the attorneys that pulled Charles's medical files without his consent. And they were suing or protecting themselves against a lawsuit from a fake consortium. Now, what we really are concerned with on that lawsuit, they not going to tell us. Did they settle that case out of court?
Did they settle it and she got paid? And that's why she's fled Kansas and moved to Texas and living in a $300,000 home.
Off of the state's assets, her and her husband.
That I can't close. That belongs rightfully to my family, not hers.
Yeah. Well,
you're welcome.
Thank you both so much.
We appreciate you.
Thank you for having us.
I hope you find the justice that you're looking for.
I do too.
I hope this platform helps. Like I told you, Lisa, whatever I can do to help, let me know. If you guys get any updates or something happens and you need to get the word out, let me know. I'll get you guys on immediately.
I really appreciate you taking your time to do this. I feel that in 2026, this year, I feel like we're going to have victory because I believe God goes before us and God is into time. It is not our time, it's his timing. And all the things that we found, he wanted us to see the big picture of really what was going on. Because every year we find something. Every year there's something else we find. And it's disturbing because you shouldn't have to. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. Living in Illinois. In Illinois, I've never seen like that. When I've gone before a judge, it's always like been very professional.
Bush town.
Sad.
It's a small town, just like they're trying to bring the chief over here, and we have tax issues. Because it's a lot of fraud over here in this county.
And the county is in an uproar right now. And if you follow some of the stuff we've been following, they've got tax issues, and since they're trying to bring the chiefs. But I want to say that I rejoice because now it's putting Wyandotte County on a national stage.
On the map.
It's putting them on a national stage.
Yeah, there's people.
And people like me.
There's, I have listeners in other states, other countries. And yeah, I get feedback and you're right. Sometimes you have to do something like this in order to get the right person to hear it. So I hope that, in sharing this, somebody will hear it and get involved and get the ball rolling in the right direction.
And really, why we're really angry is this shouldn't have never happened to a wartime veteran. It shouldn't have happened to him, period. But someone that has served this country and they knew this. Our family feels like they only wanted to experiment on Charles, get whatever, bill him, do whatever they want, use his body for science. We're angry for that. We're very angry about that. So you have a wonderful evening. Same to you.
God bless you both. God bless Mr. Charles Z. Smith. May he rest in peace. I hope he's, having all the peace and I'm sure he's looking down very proud on both of you.
Let me just say that when I was down there, that was so devastating. I made a promise to my uncle. I've never seen my uncle cry. When we walked in the room, tears fell. He was holding out. I don't know. It was just in me. He cried, and I whispered to him that I'm not letting this go. And I'm not. It's been 13 years. 13 years.
And I feel like after he saw us and saw his family, because he's been moved around and hijacked, kidnapped from his family. mistreated,
abused.
all of that abuse. I think once he saw us, he let go because my uncle's date of death is on the 4th of July.
He died the 4th of July.
Okay? He died the 4th of July.
2016.
And he let go. He's buried up at Leavenworth. I make trips up there to put flowers on his grave.
My mother's grave and my grandmother's grave.
And my
family's a military
because
family.
we are a military family. And, you know, I hope someone in the military can hear how grave this was. Again, a Vietnam veteran who served this country.
Yeah, and I have interviewed a couple of Vietnam veterans as well. So, and they listen to the podcast, so they'll be able to share it, you know, amongst their community as well.
Thank you.
But I send my blessings to you and your family.
And you have a good night, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna edit this as soon as possible.
That's
I'll have
fine.
it ready in a couple of days.
Take your time. You do your
I'll
magic. We okay. We got that. We did the hard part, and that's speaking. And it's because it takes a lot out of you. So we just want to thank you again, just for your time.
Again.
Of course. Hang tight when I stop the recording so that it can finish uploading. Okay. All right. So this is Eddie. I'm with House of Origin. And today I had Miss Paula and Miss Paulette share their story. And I want to thank you both again for coming on and sharing that. And everybody have a good night.